All right, today's Wednesday, August 7th, and it's 7 p.m. I call this meeting to order. Please stand with me, if you can, for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, item 104, may I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Lemon, seconded by Ms. Ewers. All in favor?
Aye.
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 And Ms. Trejo, thank you for joining us on the phone. Item 201, may I have a motion?
Madam President, Vice President, I move that we approve the minutes from August 7th regular governing board meeting.
Second.
It's actually July 17th on 201.
July 17th.
Yeah. Do you want to go ahead and redo that?
I know I read them. All right. Slight correction. Yeah, the minutes from July 17th regular board meeting. I move that we approve them.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Lemon and seconded by Ms. Ewers. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Item 202, approval modification of minutes from the July 17th executive session. May I have a motion?
Madam Vice President, I move approval of executive minutes from July 17th, 2024.
And a
Second.
Thank you. Moved by Mr. Lemon, seconded by Ms. Ewers. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes. Item 301, right into action discussion items, discussion, consideration, and possible approval of revision to the job description for the executive coordinator. Dr. Driscoll, would you mind giving us a little background on this?
Good evening, Madam Vice President
That's okay.
and members of the board. Yes, so on July 1 of this year, the Fair Labor Standards Act went into effect. And with that, districts and other agencies across the nation had to look at employee groups and making sure that we're in compliance with that law. In our review with our legal counsel, we found that we were not in compliance. And so the adjustment that we're asking for today is a reclassification based on the Fair Labor Standards Act.
Okay, if there's no questions or comments, may I have a motion?
Madam Vice President, I move we approve the revision to the job description of the executive coordinator.
I second.
Moved by Mr. Lemon and seconded by Ms. Ewers. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Trejo?
Aye.
There you go. Item passes unanimously. Item 302, discussion, consideration, and possible approval of an executive assistant to the superintendent / CEO and community confidence enterprise position and corresponding job description. Does anybody need background on this one? Dr. Driscoll's ready. Go ahead, Dr. Driscoll.
Yes. As you know, we've had some people resign posts and take other jobs, other places. So we had 3 FTE positions in our administrative positions that are unfilled. This position would help provide support to administrators in the community confidence enterprise.
Okay, if there's no questions or comments, may I have a motion?
Madam President, move approval of executive assistant to the superintendent / CEO and community confidence enterprise position and the corresponding job description.
Thank you, Mr. Lemon. May I have a second?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Lemon and seconded by Ms. Ewers. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Trejo?
Aye, sorry.
It's okay. Thank you. Item passes unanimously. Item 303, discussion, consideration, and possible approval of an intergovernmental agreement between Tempe Elementary and the City of Tempe for surveillance system emergency access. We've had an executive session about this. We've done tours of the center, and we've already had discussion on it. Does anybody have any additional questions or comments? Mr. Lemon.
Yeah, one of the things I've been noticing is we've been getting copies of the letters to the families when there's incidents around our schools, and it seems to be spread throughout the district. They're not serious things, but it is a security issue for our campuses. So to me, this makes some good sense because most of this is from outside, and we don't want it to go inside to the school. And so I thought this was a good proposal from the city, and I think it's been tightened up a little bit, and so I'm in favor of this.
Ms. Yours?
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Yes, so everyone here knows, and especially the board, that I'm serious about safety. I've always been serious about safety. I'm always trying to be ahead of the game and be proactive rather than reactive. And when the city came to us with this proposal and the fact that they were willing to do this for us and for our kids and for our community, I first looked at it with, okay, I need to know everything I can about it. And the city will let you know that I have been down to the facility several times. I've seen it in action. I did have concerns about our families and them being protected and them, no Big Brother stuff. And basically this was all about safety. And unfortunately, we're just in a time now where we need to be as proactive as we can. And there was nothing after, several of us had concerns and the city addressed all of them and the chief addressed all of them and the police department addressed all of them. And I was grateful for that because we did not go into this lightly. We've spent several weeks, all of us, and if we needed to go down and see it again, we were welcome down to go down and see it again, and we did go walk it again. The main thing that made my heart feel better is that if anything happens to our kids on my watch that I couldn't help prevent, I would never forgive myself. And so I took this decision very, very seriously. And I'm grateful that we have a city that cares so much that they're willing to pay for this. This is something, we do have to upgrade some of our materials as we go, but we know that's what we're going to do before this proposal even came to us. Hence the reason that we're going out for an override. Safety of our kids is one of the number one things that we're going to be using that money for. So we already knew that we had that. Adding this generous offer and to have this connection between the police department and our school district and our administrators and our safety council and our principals, it just makes sense. We don't want to live in a time like this. None of us want to live in a time like this, but we are in a time like this. The main thing that I would be grateful for is these little guys, they have these drills. And the drills, like it or not, are absolutely terrifying. And my mom relates it back to when she had her drills of going underneath her desk for bomb threats. Once you do that, it never leaves your mindset. It will not leave our children's mindset. They know there is a threat out there that me as a child never had, that us as board members, when we went to school, I never once thought that somebody could come in and harm me at my school. The only thing I was worried about is if my friend smoked in the bathroom and I was going to get suspended because they did that. That was our biggest threat. We're living in a whole other world now. So with that said, when those happen, I happen to live right across the street from one of our schools. Ms. Franklin will tell you when that alarm goes off and I know something's up, I'm on the phone with her right away because I want to know they're okay. And for officers to not be able to see into the building, and only at that time, they're not watching this building all the time, at any other time, they have no permission to do that. And anybody who is on, we will know who is on and we will be able to check and see who has been on. But for them to be able to immediately look down hall 1, hall 2, and for the chief to get there and to know what's happening in the building before any armed gunsmen and armed police officers have to go in there and terrify those kids, that to me is worth all of it. And to be able to address this quickly. And frankly, I asked the question, did Uvalde have this equipment at their fingertips? And the answer was no, they had nothing like it. And so I am grateful for this offer, and I will hope and ask for the community when I'm out there canvassing that they will continue to support us and elevating our levels of safety for us to be able to make sure that our kids can go to school every single day knowing that we have their back, and we're going to do everything we can to make sure that all they have to do is learn and love on themselves. That's it. They should be looking and worrying about nothing else. So I am for this, as you can see, and I just, I ask the board hopefully to follow me in keeping our kids safe.
Thank you, Ms. Ewers. Ms. Trejo, do you have anything to add?
Thank you, Vice President Windsor. Thank you, Ms. Ewers, for sharing. I think we all deeply support and prioritize student safety, so anything we can do to support that, definitely support. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Trejo. I just want to add that I'm grateful for the city's patience with us asking questions and investigating based off of what emails we were getting, what community feedback we were getting, plus our own questions and concerns. Truly appreciate the partnership that was already forged with that, especially in one of our meetings. I was feeling a little rushed, and I was like, I don't understand the rush, and we were very clearly told, this is your agreement. You take the time you need, and I truly appreciate that. It made it feel like you wanted it to be a partnership, and that's what happened, so I really appreciate that. All right, with that, may I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the intergovernmental agreement between Tempe Elementary School District and the City of Tempe for the surveillance system emergency access.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Ewers and seconded by Mr. Lemon. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item passes unanimously. Thank you. Item 304, discussion, consideration, and possible approval of a professional services agreement between Tempe Elementary School District and Step Up Tutoring. Dr. Driscoll, is this the one that we talked about before? All right.
Yes, and I have Ms. Grimaldi and a guest to come up and give a presentation to you guys.
Good evening, Madam Vice President and the board. We just want to briefly talk about the Step Up Tutoring proposal and agreement. We have selected Shamley if the approval is to go through. This is a unique opportunity where ASU, Step Up for Tutoring, and our district would be able to provide free tutoring in math to students second grade through sixth grade, potentially. It is a virtual program, and I'm going to let Corby Adams from ASU talk about some of the logistics, and I'm here for questions if you need it.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk about this with you. We have a partnership with Step Up Tutoring, which is a nonprofit tutoring organization that provides math tutoring, virtual math tutoring for young people, grades K through 8, or K through 6, sorry. And we have formed a partnership with them to help provide an opportunity for our federal work study students at Arizona State University to be able to serve in our communities through virtual tutoring opportunities. And so we have come to Tempe to see if that is something that you guys would like to engage with as we start this new school year. We know that math is something that, coming off of summer break, can be something that can really help students, if they can be really strong in math at the start of the year, really excel throughout the rest of their school year. And so wanting to provide this really strong foundation in math support as our kids start back into school for this new school year. The tutors that would be hired as a part of this program, like I said, are college students who are federal work study students at Arizona State University. And of the many things they can select as an opportunity to do that federal work study job, one of the things is to be a tutor in their local community. And so that would be who would be doing the tutoring with your students in this district. And the application process is that they're interviewed and vetted both by ASU and then also by Step Up Tutoring staff. They complete an online background check, and then they have pre-service training that is designed by Step Up Tutoring and ASU as a part of a high-impact tutoring training resource that we've built together. A typical tutoring session looks like this. So I'll give you a minute to look at that. It's about 45 minutes, and it really builds in relationship building time so that the tutors are both acting in a mentor role with young people, as well as 30 minutes of really supportive and confidence-building math work with young people. The tutor training and support that they receive, they start off with some tutor training from ASU that we've built around high-impact tutoring, utilizing the standards of the National Student Support Accelerator for high-impact tutoring, and really building in those foundational pieces for a strong start to their tutoring efforts. And then they're supervised by Step Up and receive coaching and support by Step Up coaches, both in written feedback as well as looked at against a quality rubric for tutoring. We know that technology options for those at home is something that we wanted to address because this tutoring is taking place at home and not every student has access to reliable internet or to technology. So we've discussed being able to have the students take Chromebooks home and check them out from their school. And then we are purchasing hotspots from TechSoup to be able to support anyone who needs help with internet at home to have that hotspot while they are doing tutoring, to be able to have reliable internet to be able to reach their tutoring session. And that's it.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the board? Oh, Ms. Ewers.
Thank you so much. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
And thank
you.
you for offering to help our children. First, I have a couple questions that the communities going to want to know. Is there a cost to the community for this?
Nope, it is funded and supported by ASU.
Okay. And second, will you be in I had read through it quite a bit, and it looks like if there needs to be collaboration with their teachers, that you have the availability to do that. It's open for discussion in order to have a full circle account to help these kids. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. And then third, how many students at Chamblee will we be able to take in the program?
We're targeting 50 students, but we have the ability to do 100.
Okay.
It is a pilot program until fall break with the option of continuing.
Awesome. Well, the elephant in the room is that we are not where we want to be in math. And if our kids are not where they want to be in math starting at this age, they never are where they want to be in math. And Mr. Lemon and I will second that we are often frustrated with math and science scores, and anything that we can do to provide services. I'd like to thank you, Ms. Grimaldi, for getting out there and trying to find partners with us to continue to help them where they need it. And I just hope this is a big success. So thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Trejo, do you have any questions or comments?
No, thank you, Vice President Windsor. Just thank you for answering the questions. We appreciate all your support.
Thanks, Ms. Trejo. The only thing I wanted to add is thank you for finding options for technology. That was my big concern. And I appreciate that thanks, Darren. I appreciate that you guys are targeting one school to see how it rolls out instead of spreading it thin. Very wise. Good job. May I have a motion on this item, please?
Madam President, Vice President, I move the approval of professional service agreement between Tempe Elementary School District and the Step Up Tutoring Program.
Second?
Moved by Mr. Lemon and seconded by Ms. Ewers. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Item passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Two great partnerships. All right, item 305, discussion and first review of proposed changes to governing board policy BBBA, board member qualifications. I believe the only thing that was added with this is adding that we can't be sex offenders if we want to be on the governing board. Tread lightly, yes.
I was actually shocked that this wasn't something that was in the bylaws before. So I guess it's about time.
Okay, so since it's first review, we don't have anything else. Does anybody want to add, amend, edit? Okay.
I would like to add, this is the school board member, correct? Yeah. School board member one?
Correct.
I think this is something that we had talked about previously about requiring an IVP card for board members if they plan to visit campuses. We require that of our parents and volunteers. I think if possible, I would like to add that.
I didn't hear it. Add which part? Oh, the
The
fingerprint.
IVP card. Yeah.
Dr. Driscoll, can you ask legal about that?
Yes, and I'll circle back on the second read for you guys.
Okay, and I'm pretty sure that most of the board, if not all, would be in favor of that. And I know that the three of us do, and I'm sure Ms. Trejo does already.
Yeah.
So, okay. So if, hey, we already have it, go ahead and put it in policy, right? All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Trejo, for pointing that out. Item 306, discussion and first review of proposed changes to governing board policy GCF, professional staff hiring. I looked through this one and it looked like the only things that they really added were about the candidates being required to disclose whether they've pled guilty, pled no contest, been convicted of, or are awaiting trial. That's the only addition I saw. Did anybody else see something else that? Okay. Then let's move on. Ms. Trejo, any questions about 306?
No.
Okay. 307 is also a first review for proposed changes to governing board policy GDF, support staff hiring. This looks like it was the same thing, right? And then it looks like they added charter schools into the policy. Any questions for anybody? This is where actually they have omitted IVP specifically and they just put fingerprint clearance. Does that mean it's a different level of clearance?
Go ahead, Mr. McGeady.
Madam Vice President, I think for this recommendation, omitting the IVP portion of it, it opens it up for districts to make a determination of what clearance they want to proceed with. Obviously, the decision for us is that we in our district do require the IVP card, but we could also make a recommendation to spell that out in our regulations as well.
Thank you, Mr. McGeady. And we are on to 308, which is discussion and first review of proposed changes to governing board policy IHA, basic instructional program. And before anybody chimes in on this, I want to just ask some clarifying questions to Dr. Driscoll, since I don't see Katie Moe here. If I read this correctly, it looks like social studies is once again the only one targeted, where we have broken out specific topics that are already included in the required standards. Is that accurate?
Yes.
So it doesn't look like math, we don't specify what math, they just have to have experiences with math. But social studies, we have to be specific, even though the state has already specified that those must be taught, right?
Yeah, it increased instructional time on the Holocaust and sex.
Increase of instructional time, okay. Anybody else have questions about this? Okay. And I think the next one is a second read. No, 309, discussion and first review of proposed changes to governing board policy JFB, open enrollment. This is the one looks like somebody bled all over it. Mr. Lemon?
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Yeah, when I looked at this, I'm just saying, this is a very involved procedure for whatever. And it's to satisfy parents to get their child into the appropriate place where they think they should be. And it gives us more work to do when we don't have enough people to actually teach the children or have another classroom. And so to me, it's adding more burdens to us. Now, if it sets up a procedure that everybody is comfortable with, that's fine. But as soon as we don't follow that procedure and somebody gets a preferential treatment or believes that somebody got preferential treatment, then we have to spend a lot of administrative time unraveling that. And I'm concerned about that.
Okay, Dr. Driscoll, do you want to address that?
Yeah, the biggest thing I would say upon you guys doing a second read of this is that we'll have to really update our regulation for how we're gonna put this into practice for our district, and that's where I think we're gonna have some work to do, because the regulation and how the procedures that we would do to enforce this policy, we're going to have to make some changes and really be thoughtful of all the different scenarios that might come forth with this new policy update.
Is there a time, Madam Vice President, is there a time frame that we have to adopt this per the legislation changes?
I can check on that. I know the biggest part of this is it added a category for districts to give special enrollment preferences. And I think it was the Armed Forces, United States, either active duty or those killed in line of duty. So that's the big part of it, is adding that section. But then they added a whole bunch of other stuff in there that,
And that was my concern, because I saw the thing with the military preference, and I've been fine with that, and we've been doing that for decades.
yeah. So I think the biggest thing in the actual reg, the revised statute, was to add that special preference for the military. But in this, they also added a whole bunch of other stuff for us to consider.
And I have a question. When I read it, it looked like it removed some of the protections that districts have utilized to, like, if we are at capacity within a building or even within class sizes. Did I read that correctly?
And Cindy looked at this one. I think so. I think it made it, my opinion, more friendly for that districts don't have that much flexibility in capacity and what we decide to be capacity and stuff like that in our preference.
In this regard, wouldn't fire marshal rules protect us on that one? I mean, like, we have a capacity, obviously, because there's safety involved.
Yes, and sometimes in these, they don't think about actual construction of the classrooms that we currently have. So some of it, our classrooms aren't big enough to hold the capacity that we would say we would be able to hold for particular class sizes because of the construction of the room and how it's laid out. So yes, and we did have a fire marshal here doing our schools this past week, so yes.
Ms. Denton looks like she's poised.
No, I've read through this numerous times. I do feel, we currently follow the capacity that is in our policy guide about how many children per classroom. So when Mike and I work on this, we base it on the 1 to 25 capacity. So the information in here about updating the website regularly, we've already been doing that. We've been doing that now for probably a year. And I feel like we've got a great handle on that. It's really the prioritization and the timing of this. Currently, our open enrollment policy is first come, first serve. So whoever gets in their application first, and it goes in order. This infers that you might be able to infuse a lottery system, which is not necessarily a bad thing. So I feel like we can certainly accommodate that. I think, as Dr. Driscoll's saying, it's just making sure that our regulation and then updating our open enrollment form is in alignment with this. But I read it that we can set the capacity in the classroom, and if we choose that, if the classroom's got 20 students in it, then it would be open for open enrollment. But once they hit, right now, once it hits 25, then I close that grade level to open enrollment. If enrollment drops, I reopen that grade level. So I'm constantly bouncing around, updating whether we're closed or open by school, by grade level, and by program.
I would like to suggest where I think Mr. Lemon was headed is, let's not bring this back for a second read until you guys have is that what you were suggesting? You have your procedures in place and we can look at them jointly? Mr. Lemon, is that accurate?
That's wonderful.
Okay. Dr. Driscoll, are you comfortable with that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Ms. Trejo, I apologize. Do you have something to add to this 309? I'll take that as a no. All right, 310, discussion and first review of proposed changes to governing board policy JHD, exclusions and exemptions from school attendance. I feel like yeah, all right. Mr. Lemon, any on that one?
No.
Okay, and then 311 is second review and adoption of proposed changes to governing board policy CHCA handbooks and directives. This was superintendent or designate one. Dr. Driscoll.
I have one on this. So Ben, can you go to this? So I would like to add a language in there, if the board would approve, about surveys, staff, district-directed surveys. So it says curriculum guides, manuals, handbooks, pamphlets, and similar publications will be presented. I would like to add the caveat of surveys. And with that being is that right now, a person could literally go and just fill out and make a survey and ask for information from our employees, and all you have to do is know our nomenclature of our staff and send it out. And so having that in policy that they have to have some authorization from us, and it also gives the publication goes to the board, so you can see the survey. We have protections for that for students, but I also want to protect our employees to make sure that the surveys they're getting is something that the district is saying, we really want your input on, not something that somebody can just, because they know our email nomenclature, that they can send out. So I would like to add, if the board would consider staff-directed surveys, because we already have one for students, a policy that's a state, but to add that in.
Any comments about the suggestion Dr. Driscoll's making?
Fine with me.
Okay, I do have a legit.
I have a question.
Oh, yeah, Ms. Trejo.
Thank you. I think that makes sense. Definitely don't want random folks, utilizing private information of our staff. But what would be the process for folks to be able to do that?
We would do it similar to what we do for when we have people that ask for research in our district. It's simply a form to say, hey, I wanted to conduct this survey. Here's the survey questions that we want to do. And then we would literally, myself or designee would review it and say, yes, you can conduct this survey just like we do for research requests that we have from many institutions. So we would just follow kind of the similar process that we do for requests for research in our district, which we have a policy on. It'd be that same process.
Thank you.
Ms. Yours.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Dr. Driscoll, do we have a process for, I know that our teachers, I know that we as school board members are getting emails all the time and getting things all the time that literally we are unable to answer or shouldn't answer in surveys. Is there like a stamp of approval or something that they would know that this is, because I didn't even think, to be honest with you, about this issue, and this is a pretty serious issue. Is there a way to create something that our staff knows that this is a legit something to answer? Or are we already using something like that?
For a request for research, yes, we have a process so to notify our staff that the district has approved this research and that they can participate. For surveys, that's what I'm saying, we need to add it here. There's just stuff out there. We can't control the emails, but we do phishing activities. So if you answer some, know that you got naughty grams. I didn't, so sorry. But I think this is just an extra layer to make sure we're protecting our staff from only being burdened with stuff and surveys and for information that the district deems is very vital for our district operation, not because I want to get some information from you and that you feel obligated. So yes, we would send out like, this is a district approved, it would come from me. We would do an end to know, like you would get this, we'll notify our administrators that, hey, we're sending this out so they know it's from us. We get it all the time. We have, I always butcher it, NAESP, the fourth grade test, they have to take surveys and stuff like that from that as well. But we already have a process that we notify our staff that this is legit from the district that you are required to do.
Okay, so I have a clarification question and then a question about the title. So clarification question is, if I'm a principal and I want to send out a survey about an upcoming staff party, on what date we need to hold it, would that be something you would want to have go through you or go through your team?
Our principals are pretty ingenious and they wouldn't do it as a survey. They would say interest. I'm more concerned about surveys that are asking for particular information for our staff to provide. What principals due to collaborate on how many people are going to their party. I don't necessarily call that a survey. I'm more looking at like a survey that they're trying to get crucial information from our teachers, that we need to approve that.
I agree. I assume that's what you meant, but I can just see people making that leap. So we need to make sure that's clear. And then the title question is, handbooks and directives doesn't seem to be the right title for this. Go ahead and say it.
Yes, we have a agency that we use to get our policies through, and so it comes from there.
So the title stays. Okay, got it. So, sorry, Ms. Yours.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. I'd like to make it clear that we weren't laughing at your question, because it was a really good question. We were laughing at Dr. Driscoll not being able to use his microphone, but people might have watched that, the 7 people that might be watching us on YouTube. Charlotte's question was a good question.
Thank you for the external validation. Okay, so we will need to have a motion with the amendment that Dr. Driscoll suggested, and then a second, please.
Madam Vice President, I move we approve the adoption of Governing Board Policy CHCA, handbooks and directives, including the text, also includes survey instruments.
May I have a second?
I second for staff-directed surveys.
Moved by Mr. Lemon with the proposed addition and seconded by Ms. Ewers. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item passes unanimously. Thank you, everyone. All right, item 401, which is the bulk of our pamphlet here, approval of consent agenda. May I have a motion?
Madam Vice President, I move approval of our consent agenda. And I forgot how many items.
A million. 23.
23 items.
In a second.
I second, and I'm grateful for many of them.
Moved by Mr. Lemon, seconded by Ms. Ewers. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Items pass unanimously. Item 501, celebration of excellence. Sorry.
No comment about her mic game? Okay, just throwing it out there. Madam Vice President, members of the board, tonight I have a few items to celebrate and celebrate excellence. Tempe Elementary roots run deep. Curry Elementary School alum and current teacher Danielle Riggs celebrated the beginning of the school year by stopping by the new bench added to the Curry campus, honoring her second grade teacher, Wendy Rose. Wendy Rose was one of the best teachers to ever grace Curry Elementary's halls. Danielle shared of her former teacher. I am incredibly grateful to have had her as a teacher and love that her children honored her time at Curry with this wonderful bench. It's stories like that that reminds us that teachers make an impact that lasts a lifetime. Beyond the passionate teachers, dedicated leaders, and unstoppable staff, what makes Tempe Elementary so special are the community partners who come together to support our students. This back-to-school season was no different. Our community came together, supplied uniforms, shirts, backpacks, and immunizations for Tempe Elementary students. Thank you to our partners for showing their commitment to our students' futures, and for our very own Michelle Grimaldi, Director of Wraparound Services, for coordinating these donations. And that concludes my Celebrate Excellence for this evening.
Thank you very much. All right, board members' points of information, 701. Ms. Ewers, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Yeah, it's been a crazy, first couple weeks. I'd like to thank all of you for doing an awesome job, and all of our schools for back to teacher night and getting our kiddos back in school, and for all of our staff who make sure that they're eating regularly and they're playing regularly. And I do know that we've had to keep a lot of our kids inside, so we're having to be extremely creative with the buildings and the processes that we have to keep them moving when it's 120 degrees out. And I'd like to thank the parents. I know there was some misunderstanding last year of the children not having playtime during school, and that was really valuable and important, and we understand that. But we also understand that we have to be really careful with heat stroke and things like that. So I think we've had a pretty good balance this year, because I haven't heard any complaints like we have. So way to go, team, on that. And then I would like to thank Dr. Driscoll and the district for inviting me to attend the rally at the beginning of the school year. And something that I took away that I want the public to understand is if they hear this phrase that our teachers and our schools are full of junkyard dogs. We don't have any pity kitties anymore. And so I know that sounds a little crazy, but it is the truth. I am now living my life as a junkyard dog, which means that I am protecting our children, I'm protecting our assets, and I'm looking forward to our future and making sure that we give everything to Dr. Driscoll that we can afford to give him with community support to make sure that we go forward. And something that has really changed my thinking too, and I'm sure that Ms. Windsor can appreciate this because she works with our kids every single day, is that we now at Tempe Elementary, I believe that day, committed to making sure that we have no disadvantaged kids, that all of them are advantaged. And we're going to continue to treat them as advantaged children and give them everything we can to give them the advantage to go forward. So I thought it was awesome, and I applied it to my life, and I appreciate all of the faculty and staff and our teachers, including our children, for grasping this idea and knowing that they can do whatever they want to do, and we are here to support them and getting them to do that. So it's been a couple good weeks, and I'd just like to thank everyone for the great energy. I've been to a few of the schools in the last 2 weeks, and it's just really fun and joyful to be back, and it's a nice atmosphere to be in. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Yeah, it's a great start, and the communication to the parents and to us, I think, is just wonderful, and thank you, Ms. Franklin. And the other thing that came to mind is last spring, we talked about the Toyota grant for the STEM programs, and I was going to request to Dr. Driscoll that we have an update on that, of where we're at in implementation schedule on that. And I also wanted to comment today on the personnel agenda that we see a lot of additional money going to people for educational increments. And that's something that I've been adamant about for over 20 years. When we can afford it, we need to do it. And I'm glad we're doing it. And those hard to fill positions, we're boosting up some of that to make it happen. And finally, Mr. Farmer, I understand you're going to retire. Okay, well, well,
Members of the board, Dr. Driscoll, I was hoping we could talk about the Rover heat pumps. But yes, it was a hard decision. I will say that it's taken me about 3 times to do this, and this is the furthest that it's gotten to the governing board. So the other 2 times were unsuccessful, but we're here tonight.
So you're saying there's a chance?
Well, you never know.
thank you, Mr. Farmer. Thank you, Madam Vice President.
Thank you, Mr. Lemon. Ms. Trejo, do you have anything to add on this?
No, not at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Trejo. I wanted to thank Ms. Franklin. I had communication on every single social media platform that I follow. I only follow one, but I saw it all the time. Keep my badge. I want to keep my badge. But I was impressed that every time I turned around, no matter how many times I liked it, it didn't go away. It was like, hey, remember? I'm like, that's right. I remember school starting. Ms. Grimaldi, thank you very much for all that you did. I saw you at Connolly. You sweated it out with the best of us, and I really appreciate it. I think we all went home a little bit lighter from that trip, but my goodness, you guys had a lot of resources out there for all the kids. I was super impressed that we haven't had a barrage of emails about ACs going out, so thank you very much. We all know that that's for sure skill and preparation, but it also is, in my opinion, a lot of prayer. So thank you very much for making that happen. Buses seem to be running smoothly. Hopefully the changes we put, or you just don't want to say otherwise. Either way, I haven't noticed, and I appreciate no emails, so good job on that. Staff seem to be really excited and welcoming our kids back. I have had the smoothest start of a school year as a mother as I've ever had, so You know, you guys at least get a third of that credit since the other two are in a different district, but thank you for making a third of it really wonderful. The rally was wonderful in terms of, you know, from a board member's point of view, but as a professional in education as well, it invigorated me to go back and start a fight that I thought I needed to abandon, and I won because I chose to be a junkyard dog instead of a pity kitty, and I got my way, so that was great. And then I have a request for a presentation in the near future, a title funds update, since a lot of things have changed and board members have been asking questions, and I thought that maybe we could do that soon.
September, first meeting in September.
Fabulous. Look at that. You're on top of it. All right, and that's it. No other board members' points of information, so we're going to jump to 801, announcements and upcoming events. There will be an agenda committee meeting on Wednesday, August 14th at 11 a.m. The next regularly scheduled governing board meeting is Wednesday, August 21st at 7 p.m. with an executive session starting at 6:15 p.m. The 2024 ASBA 48th Annual Law Conference will be September 4th through 6th at the JW Marriott Camelback Inn Resort and Spa. We don't go to the spa part, though. And the 2024 ASBA Delegate Assembly will be September 7th, and that's Ms. Ewers and Mr. Miller, correct? At the JW Marriott Camelback Inn. And then the East Valley School Boards Consortium will be hosted by Higley Unified School District on Monday, September 9th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Higley Unified School District office. With that, 9:01, may I have a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting?
So moved.
And a second. Moved by Ms. Ewers, seconded by Mr. Lemon. All in favor?
Aye.
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 We are adjourned.
Signing